Here at Foss Station in Tooele County, in 1861, probably one of the most wildest of the Wild West shootouts took place. And the story goes that John W. Dawson had recently been appointed governor of Utah Territory. And the federal government could do this because it was a territory they could just appoint people. And Dawson was no friend of the Mormons. He made it very clear he hated them and thought that all of them should have been wiped out during the Utah War. But people in Utah were kind of used to this attitude from the federal government, so they put up with him for a few weeks, but he made it also pretty obvious that he was a little bit of a weirdo. He would flirt with women at very inopportune times, and in front of a crowd full of people, he propositions a Mormon woman who was grieving the loss of her husband. And that was the last straw. They beat the hell out of John Dawson, and John Dawson realizes it's time for me to leave. So he gets on board the Pony Express and heads over to Fort Crittenden. Nowadays, that is the Camp Floyd Pony Express station. You should really check it out. It's fascinating. And the ride from Camp Floyd over to Foss Station where the shootout happened is a really cool ride to make because it goes along the old Pony Express. If you drive from Camp Floyd to Foss Station, you'll go over 20 miles or so of the original Pony Express station's route. And I'm looking up actually a little bit over to the east now from Foss, and you can see Camp Floyd, or at the time it would be called Crittenden, would be over in the distance. And on their way up here, 3 outlaws assemble. That would be Lot Huntington, Moroni Clausen, and John Smith. And the authorities in Salt Lake City have issued warrants for the arrest of the people who beat the hell out of the governor, but they don't really intend on enforcing them because, I mean, Dawson says he believed that all the people who issued the warrants should be killed for being Mormon. But what really broke the camel's back was when Lot Elijah Huntington stole a prized racehorse from a local bishop. And Lot Elijah Huntington, keep in mind, he was the nephew of Brigham Young, who had a lot of nephews, if you didn't know. And he was also a well-known local outlaw. And this basically set over the edge Porter Rockwell because he was the one who sold the horse to the bishop. Even though he was very good friends with Brigham Young, he now saw the need to enforce these warrants, and he went after the men. He caught up with them at Fort Crittenden, and at Fort Crittenden they said, those men are now up at Foss Station. So he went up to Foss Station, he commandeered a stagecoach so he could complete the last 20 miles in comfort. And when he's up here at Foss, he goes and talks to the German immigrant who runs the station, and the immigrant says they're inside eating breakfast. So he, Porter Rockwell, who's kind of an infamous gunslinger, and Wild Bill Hickman, who later became famous for writing an expose on the fact that he was basically an assassin. Although he was a marshal, he was taking orders from the church, assassinating officials that they didn't like. And he basically came up here, and they also had a blood feud because Lot Elijah Huntington, being the leader of the gang, had shot Wild Bill Hickman in the hip and given him a limp that would last him the rest of his days. And so when they knock on the door and they say, Lot Huntington, come out, we know you're in there, he comes out with a gun and is shot through the chest. Well, the other 2 men come out with their hands up, and Porter Rockwell basically gets them to surrender, ties their hands, and there's a contingent from Salt Lake City there to arrest them. And Wild Bill Hickman says, all right, well, we're all good here. He turns his back and he hears pop, pop. And it seems like Porter Rockwell executed the 2 men here at Foss Station. Now, Porter Rockwell said, oh, they got out of their restraints and were running. But in his expose, Wild Bill Hickman says that they had gunshot residue on their face. So they were very clearly shot at close range on their knees. And later on, Hickman died a mysterious death coming back to Tooele in search for his own gold claims because he was living in exile in Wyoming for years because he was afraid that they would assassinate him because he made it public that he was an assassin. But this shootout happened here in Rush Valley in 1862 in the early months. The snow was on the ground. But I think the most interesting part of this is that the Mormon War, the Utah War of 1857 and 8, had just ended. And the war itself was caused by a flight of federal officials. There was a lot of intimidation by Mormon leaders. So a lot of people, Hickman included, thinks that the 3 outlaws had been put to the task by officials within the church to go assassinate Dawson, and that Porter Rockwell was kind of sent along to snuff them out and say, no, I believe Orson Hyde was the official in Hickman's book that he claimed was coordinating all of the true vigilante killings. And basically they said, you're not going to start a second Utah war here. Don't give the Union an excuse to house troops here on Utah territory.